We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since it's been out there. The government has been bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your week daily morning show. We bring you the latest on everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the major rally that just occurred on Bitcoin. And I am so excited to be wrong. I am so excited to be wrong because I have been very concerned about Bitcoin dropping below 25,236 for quite some time. But it seems that I may have underestimated the bulls. You see, the dominant Bitcoin market right now has led Bitcoin all the way back up to $29,000. I'm really excited also because a trade I gave you guys yesterday would have made you a lot of money. And I'm just so excited to talk about where Bitcoin is going, where Bitcoin has gone, and really dive into the nitty-gritty of why Bitcoin has gone through this rally and what this means for Bitcoin, because this absolutely is a great step in the right direction. We're going to break down why this movement on Bitcoin is such a good green flag, such a good green light for Bitcoin. Really excited for today's episode of Coffee and Crypto Live. We go live 10:02 a.m. Eastern. Sorry, guys, we ran a little long in the gym today. We go live at 10 a.m. Eastern every single weekday. And today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin's rally. But first, let's go ahead and jump into the chat and give some people shout outs. All of you guys tuning in to learn more about financial sovereignty. So excited to see all of your smiling faces today. Paul Torelli was first with the good morning. Said good morning. Good morning to you. Mike Lowry in chat, who is a moderator and who is also a JBI Grand Councilman. Thank you. Said good morning. Daniel J said morning. Wisely T said Voyager is about to finally start liquidating and I'm getting a whopping 35%. Yay, exchanges. That is very unfortunate. Dan Nolan said right now. RC Moore said, well, Jello, hello. Michael Parsons said, welcome. Woo, good morning, Jeb. Good morning to you as well. I have the Beholders in chat. Mike Lowry in chat. Crypto Military Vet. Let's see. We've got Win Peoples in chat. Good morning, all. May your patience be rewarded. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good morning, Cardano hodlers. Philly Skills 1428 said, morning, crypto family. Good morning to you as well. Let's see. Smash the likes, Mike Lowry said. Absolutely, guys. Make sure to smash those likes. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. This is a happy day. This is a happy day for Bitcoin. We don't want to get caught up in too much FOMO, but it is definitely a happy day. Bitcoin right now is trading at $29,231. For the few people that may be just listening and not watching and haven't seen anything since yesterday's show, you heard that right. Bitcoin's price is at $29,231. That means that Bitcoin is up 8.87% over the last 24 hours, up 12.32% over the last 7 days, and up 6.8% over the last 90 days. Year to date, Bitcoin is up 76.49%. Ethereum is currently trading at $1,826.69. It is up 6% over the last 24 hours, up 5% over the last 7 days, and up 5% over the last 90 days. So both of those cryptocurrencies have done markedly well. Now, something to point out here is that most of the crypto assets have rallied, but Bitcoin has rallied the most. During this rally, Bitcoin has led exactly as we talked about it would, exactly as we said it may yesterday. Bitcoin was sitting at about 48.5% market dominance yesterday on CoinMarketCap. It has rallied all the way up to 49.5. Bitcoin has put on 1% market dominance in a day. That is very abnormal behavior. And oftentimes what that signals is that Bitcoin is starting something major. Oftentimes what that signals is that somebody or some groups of bodies have invested a large amount of assets into Bitcoin, and that has brought the rest of the market into a rally. Let's break down on the chart very quickly what that looks like. We can see that on our 4-hourly price action graph over here on Bitcoin. Yesterday, we spoke about on Bitcoin how Bitcoin needed to break through this downtrending level of resistance, and I gave it a less than 50% likelihood of happening. The reason for that is because Bitcoin has been exceptionally under exceptional amount of attack lately. And specifically, the broader cryptocurrency market has been under an exceptional amount of attack. The rest of the cryptocurrency space has been under huge onslaught from the Securities and Exchange Commission, from bearish news having to do with CPI, the fact that it may end up not dropping much more than it already has. That's not so much bearish news now, but a concern about bearish news in the future. The hawkishness from the Fed indicating that we may see more rate hikes in the future. All of that has colored this kind of depressed state in the cryptocurrency market. That being said, if you keep in mind that the SEC's attack is not actually on Bitcoin, but on the altcoin space, then what Michael Saylor has talked about comes into clear focus. And that is simply this. The attacks against cryptocurrencies themselves, not necessarily against Bitcoin, is going to drive vast amounts of investment into Bitcoin. What does that mean? Well, the SEC coming after Coinbase, coming after Binance, coming after CZ, then coming after a ton of different crypto assets, left two big names unattacked. Those were Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think maybe over the last 2 weeks, ever since the beginning of the war for the independence of the altcoins, perhaps some institutional and large money players have realized, okay, well, if the SEC is coming after all of those names, but not coming after Bitcoin and Ethereum, then maybe that means that they think Bitcoin and Ethereum are different. Maybe that means that they think just Bitcoin is different, but they're not ready to attack Ethereum. Whatever it may be, that could be the institutions looking at this market and saying, okay, the SEC has defined most of the crypto space as securities and as securities, unregistered securities exchanges, but it hasn't attacked crypto. So for some, this attack against cryptocurrency may actually represent regulatory clarity in the direction of Bitcoin, because an attack did not come against Bitcoin. That's not to say that it is regulatory clarity against Bitcoin, but there is now legal precedent that the SEC has come after about 65 different crypto assets that they deem securities, and Ethereum and Bitcoin were not labeled in those two complaints to Coinbase and Binance respectively. That in and of itself could have given some large money players enough confidence to actually dump money into Bitcoin when they saw an opportunity, like the opportunity we saw yesterday. And so when Bitcoin broke that trend line breaking was hugely important. One, because those institutions may have thought, okay, the attack came against crypto, but it didn't hit Bitcoin. Maybe we will treat Bitcoin as our risk-on asset, but we're not going to touch anything else. We're just going to go into Bitcoin because they can make a lot of money there. That's where they're going to put the risky part of their investment portfolio, especially since the effective federal funds rate has at least paused for now. That might make them a little bit more risk prone, a little bit more likely to take on some risk. But the second reason why this rally may have been so big was quite simply this. This downtrend is hugely important. This downtrend has been the downtrend that has defined this correction for the last 2.5 months. This breakout right here represents a break of the most important downtrend that Bitcoin has been contending with for the last 2 months. And so, when we see this break occur, this not only represents a potentially a very bullish sign for the bulls in the fact that, okay, the SEC has not come after Bitcoin, but also the fact that the institutions are saying, okay, we've also broken critical resistance and gone into a rally. This all kind of explains why I gave you this trade setup yesterday. I told you guys that if we broke above this downtrend, then you could expect Bitcoin to go to at least $28,300, if not $28,545. Bitcoin exceeded that expectation by nearly $1,000, rallying all the way up to nearly $29,500, which, by the way, was another level of resistance that we've had drawn on the chart for months. So it's very interesting to see how the technical analysis plays out here. You know, the thing about technical analysis is that the point of technical analysis is not actually to decide and to price predict which direction the market's going to go. The point of technical analysis is to gain the context so that you understand how a movement will occur, whether it's bullish or bearish. I hope you see the difference there. The point of TA is not to predict it's going to go here or it's going to go here. In the same way, the point of meteorology is not actually to predict where a hurricane is going to go. The point of meteorology is to understand hurricanes, and one of the things that you can do with that understanding is predict where it might go. Same thing with technical analysis. The point of TA is not to predict where the market's going to go. The point of TA is to understand why the market goes where it does and how it does it, and then from that, we might be able to use that understanding to make a prediction. Understand that. That's very, very important. And so when we look at our technical analysis, we understand, okay, 28,545 was important, is important. We understand that 29.5 is and was important. We understand that these two trenches, to use the analogy we've been using all week, were very important. Bitcoin needed to recapture 26,600, and it also needed to capture this downtrending level of resistance. It has now done that, and so this downtrend and this flat level at 26.6 are firmly firmly in control of the bull simply because we've run so far away. At this point, Bitcoin has two different options because it's going to have thinned out the order books and just part of the Red Sea in that regard. Bitcoin is probably going to go through a period of somewhat sideways action here, and then before those order books start to realign themselves, then Bitcoin probably will end up going through a major movement. Now, the other thing I want you to keep in mind is that this uptrend right here has been critical to Bitcoin, and this uptrend has been so important because when Bitcoin started to break below it, it actually held. This uptrend represents the baseline, the bottom of this ascending trading channel that Bitcoin has been in for quite some time. I find it a little bit unlikely that Bitcoin will end up breaking to the top of this channel just very rapidly, because to do so, we'd have to go up to $50,000 in the next couple of months. But this bottom, this baseline trend line down here of support, at this point, probably will hold. If we're able to hold $29,000, then we would be able to trade sideways for another month and nearly a half before we traded sideways into this uptrend. It will eventually, of course, become untenable to hold, but we might be able to hold it longer than we originally anticipated. And the fact that Bitcoin was able to hold this trend line, not break below it in a massive way, was very good news indeed. Now, another thing to speak on here is the fact that Bitcoin has bounced off of its 200 daily and weekly exponential moving average. Bitcoin has confirmed that it has held this level. And so when we were looking for our confirmed breakout yesterday, you'll remember I told you, look for strong volume. The reason that we want to look for strong volume is because we don't want to see a giant breakthrough on a part of the front that has no defenses. Because what does that mean? If the Russians invade Ukraine, and they are, and they send 1,000 tanks, they got a giant tank army. They send 1,000 tanks through a bunch of farmland, and the Ukrainians have no defenses there. Then what does that really mean? Because there was no one there to defend it. What does that really mean? There was not a lot of fighting. It's a victory, yes, theoretically, but it doesn't necessarily mean the Russians were stronger. In that case, it just means that the Ukrainians didn't have any defenses deployed there. So sure, it's a victory, but it doesn't represent strength of the Russians because they had no resistance. Similarly, on Bitcoin, if you break through resistance and you have no volume, to use the analogy, there's no fighting, there's no battle, the bears just lay down and quit, then that doesn't represent that the bulls are strong. That represents that the bulls push through a weak point. On the flip side, if you send 100,000 Russian men and 1,000 tanks right at the bulk of the Ukrainians, or the Ukrainians do that to the Russians, however you want to think about it, and there's a gigantic clash, huge battle, and one comes out on top, then you know that that side is genuinely stronger because there was quite a lot of fighting to see who is on top. It's almost as if you have two people and they're boxing or they're fighting or they're playing a game or whatever it is, and they play 20 rounds. Whoever wins 15 of them clearly is the better. They didn't just get lucky. They didn't just push through a weak point. They didn't just have a good hand. Whatever it is for one game, if you average it out, they're going to win. Chess, poker, whatever you want to play, same thing. Average it out. More volume, more you're going to know who is actually stronger. And same thing for Bitcoin. What we wanted to see was high volume on this breakout so that we knew that this was a real breakout, not just a breakout where Bitcoin got lucky, not just a breakout where the bulls just laid down and quit, not just a breakout where all the bulls were asleep, not where the bears were all asleep, not just a breakout where all the bears just weren't paying attention. We wanted to see a real breakout. And so that's what we saw. We saw large volume. 5 very tall volume candlesticks, some of the largest we've seen in the last month on Bitcoin's 4-hourly chart. Extends out to the daily as well. Daily chart volume was relatively high as well, higher than its 20 average. If you remember, the volume technical indicator has a 20 moving average through it. We were above our 20 moving average on volume, indicating it was higher than average volume. So that is wonderful to see. All in all, Bitcoin has gone through a real breakout. This is a real breakout. This is a real movement, and one that we should take very seriously. So that breakout in mind, keeping that breakout in mind, Bitcoin bounced off of the 200 daily exponential moving average, which has served as critical support for years. You can see that support being very important going back all the way to 2018, 2019, 2020. Moving on to the weekly chart, same thing. Bitcoin has bounced and held off of the 200 weekly exponential moving average, as you can see right here, around $25,000. We're very, very excited to see that. Okay. One of the other things I want to bring to your attention is the fact that we've seen Bitcoin have a confirmed buy signal as of today. This confirmed buy signal is very important on the daily chart because it gives us a price target of up to $32,377. That is a huge price target, and we're very excited to see that kind of movement. All right. One of the other things I want to talk about is down on the 4-hourly chart. Buy signal that was unconfirmed as of yesterday became confirmed as soon as we've started this breakout. We actually have already hit the take profit. which was sitting the take profit, which was sitting up here with a center line at $29,165. Out on the weekly chart, let's continue to look at this. We were starting to fall below the trend catcher. This was getting into very concerning territory where Bitcoin was. We've actually managed to bounce, and we're back up into the take profit, which means that the weekly chart buy signal has not been invalidated. And also, let's look at the 3-daily chart. The 3-daily chart did have a sell signal come into play on Monday, June the 12th, but the 3-daily chart is going to give relatively lagging signals just because the 3-daily. So right now, we can see that Bitcoin is broken up, and we have seen the trend catcher on the 3-daily chart has turned green, which means we may have a buy signal on the daily chart relatively soon. The last time we had a confirmed buy signal on daily chart was here. On 3-daily chart was here, 10th of January. Obviously, we went on a major rally there. Time before that, on the 3-daily chart, we had a confirmed buy signal on the 18th of July. Bitcoin would go into rally 20% from there. So, of course, we're looking for all of those buy signals, not just one of them. We want to make sure we're doing plenty of TA on plenty of different charts to get an idea of where Bitcoin will go and how. Right now, it is safe to say that Bitcoin is in a very large breakout, but what is not safe to say is exactly where it will go. When you see an offensive in a war and you break through enemy lines, there have to be new lines established. It's rare in warfare, and this never happens necessarily in cryptocurrency unless a cryptocurrency either gets adopted by a sovereign country or banned or just destroyed. It's very rare you just break through 10,000% and just never come back. That happens sometimes. That happened kind of to Binance at the beginning of the 2021 bull market, but normally you're going to break through, you're going to reestablish the lines, then you have to go through another breakthrough. We've seen that happen before. It can happen relatively quickly. So a breakthrough, reestablish the lines. Another breakthrough, reestablish the lines. Another breakthrough, reestablish the lines. Then the bears had their time, reestablish the lines. Bitcoin broke through now, and we've got to reestablish the lines. What are the lines going to be here? Is Bitcoin going to hover sideways between 28,545 and 29,500? I would personally love that. If Bitcoin could hold 28,545 as support, as its defensive trench, if you will, then that would be remarkable. The reason that would be so important is because Bitcoin still has this transitionary zone here in between 25,236 and 28,545. That transitionary zone on 28 that ends at 28,545 is so important because if Bitcoin stays above that, then that means that, in my opinion, Bitcoin is in the pre-halving phase of the bull market. And if Bitcoin goes into the pre-halving phase of the bull market, then it is going to end up doing very, very well for itself if it can just hold above 28,545. So getting up here and staying up here is going to be wonderful. The next couple of days, the goal for you as the analyst, for me as the chartist, and for us as the investor is to see whether or not Bitcoin is able to hold here at 28,545 or not. If Bitcoin can hold, that's going to be wonderful. If it cannot, it's not the end of the world. We just need to see where that baseline of support is. Every time you go into a rally, you have to reestablish a baseline of support. When we went into this rally, we established a baseline here at 20,500. This rally, we established a baseline right around 22,300. Then we brought our baseline down to 21,500. This is our just basic support. Fell down to this $20,000 level. Then we set that as our baseline. When we went through this rally, we set our first baseline right here at 24,000. That was high, and that was low enough that we could continue pushing. So we reestablished another baseline here at 26,600. The same thing is occurring now. How much farther are we going to run? Time will tell on that. There's still a lot of bullishness in the market. It's kind of hard to tell when you have this much movement where exactly things are going to top out. But what I can say is 29.5 is a strong level that the bears will fight tooth and nail to hold. And so the trading right here is going to probably be pretty decisive between 29.5. If Bitcoin breaks above 29.5 to 29.6, then Bitcoin is probably just going to go through a giant rally all the way up to like 31K. If it doesn't break through 29, then we'll probably come back and backtest 28.5, and Bitcoin will try to ascertain whether or not 28.545 is a level that can be held. For right now, the thing that you guys need to keep in mind is that Bitcoin is in a very volatile predicament right now. It's in an extremely volatile movement. And so we really have to see where things are going to shake out. It's going to take a couple of days for us to reestablish our market structure. We just completely broke market structure. And so market structure is one of the things that we use to analyze technical markets. And if we do not know what the market structure is because we've just reestablished the market structure, then we need to be a little bit cautious. I would be careful about entering a buy trade right now. If you're an investor, this might be a signal that, okay, you want to remain invested because this is Bitcoin's way of showing that it's throwing off the shackles of the bearishness of the SEC's attack and is going to stand defiant. Keep in mind, though, the altcoins have not done the same. The altcoins have rallied, but they have not recaptured their local highs from before the SEC attacked. Just keep that in mind. This is exclusively a Bitcoin gain over the pre-SEC attacks. Cardano, Ethereum, they're doing okay, but this is not a recovery above those levels. For Bitcoin, it is. And so as the investor, what we need to do right now is we need to kind of sit back for a couple of days, look and see what happens, see where things shake out. Is Bitcoin going to flag out here? Is it going to go on another rally? If it does, breaks above 29.5 and we see another buy signal, maybe time for a very, very careful buy entry. I'm talking like a 0.1% stop loss because we are so overextended. We need to wait, see how is adding $100 billion in a day going to impact the cryptocurrency market. From there, we should be able to come up with some more answers tomorrow, moving into the next couple of days about what this is going to look like. Reestablish baseline, reestablish support in market structure, then we continue to do technical analysis over the next couple of days. Right now, if you were in a long, you're very, very happy that you are. Now's the time you probably want to take some profits, maybe want to take most of your profits out of that long. And now's the time to start looking for, are we going to have a drop? Is there going to be a big correction below 28,545? Or are we going to stay right here and wait for another long here in like a month? What are we going to do? We're going to look, we're going to watch, we're going to listen, we're going to let the market speak to us, and we're going to try and understand it. Remember, guys, technical analysis is the art, not the science, of understanding what the market is telling you. You know, communication in marriage, in relationships, in the workplace, in the church, wherever it is, communication is, 2 parts listening, 1 part speaking. You know, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. That's something my father used to always say. Listen to the market. For the market, it's 100% listening because you can't tell the market anything. It's not listening at all to you. You need to listen 100% to what the market is telling you, and then you will understand what it's doing. So therefore, you can go and make a movement in relation to it. So now we need to take a few days, gain some understanding, gain some, go and listen, and then we'll have more context that we can move forward with. If you were in that long that I gave you yesterday, I hope you were happy that you got into that, because what we talked about yesterday was that it's not a bad idea to go ahead and put a long trade right here and use a relatively tight stop loss. Wasn't too worried about it because we broke above that. It was probably going to be a big break. If you're in that trade, you may have already exited some of it. I would probably recommend exiting at least half of that trade. You've already made your movement. You don't want to make the mistake of exiting too late and then not actually being able to capitalize on these profits that you made, because it is possible that Bitcoin drops another $1,000 from here and you'll lose out on some of those gains. You might just not get them back in a reasonable time frame, and you'll have to exit that trade with less profit than you have. So if you were in that trade that we talked about yesterday, that kind of hedge bet, if you're in that trade, then definitely consider going ahead and exiting that right now. All right, let's read chat here for a little while. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Let's see. Jam Mall said Jeb said all his. Yep. I can't read that because somebody's gonna clip that and then use it as a scam. Jam Mall. But I'm reading your comment, and no, I did not say that. Like I said, I would love to read your comment. I can't because somebody is going to clip this and then try and scam with it. So can't do it. But really appreciate that. Let's see. Cryptopher has been a member for 15 months. Thank you so very much. Wild analogy there, but I like it. It's gutsy. Thank you. Appreciate that. Brief Crypto in chat said, good morning, Jeb. Smash the like. Thank you. It broke through the 29K resistance, but I don't think it'll hold. Yeah, that is definitely going to be a difficulty. What happened to your thesis of Bitcoin going down? So when we talked about yesterday was a counter thesis to that. I presented a thesis of Bitcoin crashing on Monday. I presented a thesis of why Bitcoin might rally yesterday. So I kind of presented both options to you guys, because remember, the point of a technical analyst, the point of technical analysis is not to make predictions. We do that sometimes, but the point of technical analysis is to understand the theory of what the market's doing, why it's doing it, and then we will understand how to actually make our trades. We'll understand where our levels are. We'll understand the strength of the bulls and the bears. We'll understand how to read our technical indicators. Part of that is we'll understand which direction the market might go, but the point of TA is not to make a prediction about which direction it'll go, although that does happen, and we can use TA for that. In the same way, understanding meteorology is not just understanding whether the hurricane is going to hit Jacksonville or Tampa. It's understanding how the thing works in the first place. It's not just understanding where it'll hit, it's also understanding what will it do when it hits. It also understands how often will it hit. It also makes the the meteorologists understand, okay, what season, what water currents help to strengthen hurricanes? How does dust coming off of the Sahara in Africa lead to hurricane formation? That's the way that works, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Dust comes flying, sand comes flying off of Africa very, very fast, and that is a nucleation point where the water forms on that, and then you have a hurricane, and it comes over towards Florida and Texas and Louisiana. Meteorology is understanding that. It's understanding how sand in Africa leads to you having flooding and an insurance claim in Tampa Bay, right? So it's the whole 9 yards. Meteorology is not just saying it's going to go here, it's going to go there. TA is not just saying it's going to go here, it's going to go there. TA is presenting different theories about, and theories are not, I think this might happen, theories are explanations. A scientific theory is an explanation of how something works. I gave you two explanations. I gave you a bearish scenario and a bullish scenario, and I explained how both of those would lay out. The bearish scenario was that we had seen quite a lot of bearish attack on Bitcoin. We had seen the SEC attacking the cryptocurrency market as a whole. We've seen that the CPI data is likely to stop dropping relatively soon. That's been a bullish factor, so the bulls are likely to lose that. We talked about how the effective federal funds rate has plateaued. Yes, but Jerome Powell has made it very clear that we may see as many as 2 more 25 basis point rate hikes for a grand total of 50 basis point rate hikes, which would bring the EFFR to 5.65%. All of those things are bearish factor for Bitcoin, and we also talked about how Bitcoin had not been rallying as a result of the SPY and the Dixie moving in the ways that they normally would send Bitcoin to the upside. All of those things were bearish factors, and the theory on that was, look, if Bitcoin's already breaking below 25,236, putting big chinks in that armor, then we need to be very careful of a major drop. Yesterday, based on some statements that Michael Saylor has made, we talked about how, on the flip side, institutions may look at the cryptocurrency space and they may see, okay, the attacks are coming out against the altcoins. The attacks are coming against centralized exchanges. That may actually lead to regulatory clarity for many of the institutional and large money players, and frankly, the retail, where they'll be able to have some clarity that, okay, the SEC is not going to go after Bitcoin. They said they wouldn't, but now we've seen that they went after a ton of different people. They went after $100 billion in altcoins, and they went after $100 billion in exchanges. They went after $200 billion in value all in one fell swoop, and they didn't go after Ethereum. They didn't go after Bitcoin. And wouldn't you know it, the two things that have rallied the most in the top 10 are Bitcoin and, well, Cardano is actually number 2, but also Ethereum. Bitcoin's up 10.04% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum is up 7.36%. Cardano's doing well itself, of course. But Cardano has an abnormally strong community and base behind it, and also dropped farther than Ethereum did. So these two cryptocurrencies are doing remarkably well, likely because they were not listed in that SEC attack. This has led to more market dominance on Bitcoin, and this, just so you know, is also the way that bull markets start. So the bearish thesis seems to be the one that is not occurring. The bullish thesis seems to be the one that is. Now, one of the other reasons why we believe that the bullish thesis is occurring is because we are seeing market dominance on Bitcoin rally exceptionally strong, in an exceptionally strong fashion. Typically, you do not see an altcoin season at the beginning of the bull market. You see Bitcoin, in fact, not typically, every time you see a Bitcoin cycle where the Bitcoin dominance goes on a run at the beginning of the bull market, and then later on in the bull market, as you've seen development and maturity of the bull market, then you see more investment into the altcoins. That's what we're seeing right now. Ever since about December of last year, right after FTX, we've seen Bitcoin dominance rally aggressively all the way up to 49.6% right now. You can see it here at the top of the screen. If we zoom in down to a shorter term time frame, then we're going to see the exact same thing. We've seen the market dominance go on a major tear. And even just looking in the last few weeks, jumping from 45.76% now all the way up to 49.38%. That shows exactly what Michael Saylor was talking about. It shows that he is exactly right. There is a huge amount of influx of money going into Bitcoin and out of the altcoins because of the regulatory, not now uncertainty, but regulatory certainty that bearish regulation will be coming to those altcoins. It is now a certain fact that the SEC is going to come after those altcoins, or they wouldn't have listed them in the complaints against Binance and Coinbase. It might take 5 years for them to get to every one of them. They might let some of them fall off just because they don't want to take on every case at once, and they might go for the biggest fish in the pond. But it is now a known fact that the Securities and Exchange Commission considers many of the major altcoins, Solana, Cardano, Filecoin, just a bunch of them, as securities. That is driving value into Bitcoin. And remember, when we have a bull market, that bull market typically is not only correlated, but caused by a major rally in Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin is able to run faster and farther because it has a simpler value proposition that is understood by more people and is more impervious to regulatory clarity. Let me say that again. Bitcoin has a stronger value proposition than every other altcoin because it is understood by more people. It has a more valuable it has a more market cap wise valuable value proposition, and it is the most indestructible cryptocurrency that has ever been created, bar none. All of those factors lead all that money that's sitting on the sideline to say, okay, we've seen an attack against Bitcoin. We've seen the most attack, an attack against cryptocurrency. We've seen the largest attack, I'd say, against cryptocurrency that this market has ever seen. The altcoins, some of them, even great altcoins like Cardano, have dropped 40%. Bitcoin dropped 5%, and Bitcoin is higher now than it was before the attack. The attack began at 8 a.m. on Monday, June the 5th. Bitcoin was trading at 26.7. Now, Bitcoin is trading at 29.3. That can't be said for the rest of the altcoins. Ethereum was trading at 1900. Ethereum's done very well, but it's still only trading at 1845 now. It's done very, very, very well, but it still has not recovered and surpassed that high. Cardano, which was one of the cryptocurrencies labeled as a crypto security asset, is down 26%. Solana, same boat. This is actually the old chart because I need to update that. But the Solana chart is in the same situation pretty much as it was post FTX. It's down 25%. Solana's been hit twice by stuff like this. You look at all of the other cryptocurrencies, Binance, BNB, its parent exchange, its founder, and its cryptocurrency, all three of them were hit at the same time. And so it lost 27% here. BNB is also still down 20%. It's had a bit of a rally, but still down 20%. Money is flowing out of altcoins into Bitcoin right now at an unprecedented rate, and that's why Bitcoin is trading at nearly $29,500 right now. Be careful of FOMOing in, but if you want to invest some right now on this good news, it's not necessarily a bad idea. But just keep in mind that if you're going into a long right now, I would highly recommend doing it with no leverage. One, because you could easily get liquidated because Bitcoin could fall through the floor $1,000 at any minute because it's very overextended. And that wouldn't be a bad thing. That'd be a healthy correction. Even if it dropped $1,000 in a minute, it could still be a healthy correction. So if you're going to go into a long right now, since you did already miss the trade that we talked about yesterday, because I gave you the trade setup yesterday. If you're watching the stream, you would have seen that. If you missed that, it's not necessarily a bad idea to put a little bit into Bitcoin if you do not use leverage and you're willing to roll over the negative trade into your investment portfolio. What I mean is that if you buy now and then Bitcoin drops down to 27.5, if you're willing to just say, no, I'm just not going to take the loss on that trade. Actually, I'm not going to lose because I haven't sold. I'm going to be one of those guys. I haven't lost because I haven't sold. I'm just going to put it in my investment portfolio and forget about it for 10 years. Then fine, maybe consider longing right now. If you do those two things, no leverage, you're willing to put it into your investment portfolio if you don't make a profit. If you can do those two things, if you're happy to do those two things, then jump into a long trade. Why not? But if you're not willing to do those two things, if you have to do it with leverage because you just have to get that extra penny, don't do that because you can't take that leverage trade off exchange to put it into cold storage. On top of that, it would just get liquidated eventually. And if you're not willing to put it into your investment portfolio and you want to buy right now and you want to sell in the next 2 days, don't do that because there's a greater than not likelihood that Bitcoin's going to either trade sideways or have some kind of correction in the next 24 hours as it's already rallied so much. The magnitude of this rally is going to tell us quite a lot about what the next several months on Bitcoin look like. I'd like to see Bitcoin break all the way up to $33,000. That's a huge level of resistance. If Bitcoin can use this momentum bouncing off of this uptrending level of support, like it did last time, where it went through this just gigantic rally, then Bitcoin will be in great shape. Back here, we rallied $8,600 in about 2.5 weeks. So far, we've rallied $4,500 in about a week. If we could do the same thing, rally $6,000 to $8,000, we'd be between $31,000 and $33,000, and that would put Bitcoin into wonderful, fantastic shape. I'm very, very pleased to see Bitcoin bouncing off of this uptrend because I will be honest, I did give you two theories. I'm not trying to hide behind that. I did believe at this point, based on all of the attacks against Bitcoin, that it was going to have to go through a larger correction. I am so pleased to have been proven wrong. And as usual, whenever we come out and say, Bitcoin's probably going to go to the downside, we are proven time and time again why in the long run, we should be bulls on Bitcoin. And so I'm very excited that we've learned more, but I'm also still very excited that you guys did get that buy trade yesterday, because even though I was wrong predicting that it would go to the downside, I did tell you guys to make sure you had that trade in the reserve just in case our prediction was right. So I'm hoping that some of you guys were able to make that trade profitably. All right, let's go ahead and read some chat here for the next few minutes. Really appreciate all of you for tuning in. Let's see. ETH does not lose as much as Bitcoin in that drop. Yes, Ethereum has done a great job. Ethereum and Bitcoin are the vast majority of what I'm in right now, and that's been the case for probably a year, just because of the state of the bear market. I've been very, 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 very minorly exposed to altcoins, and the reason is because of what we saw the SEC do. I believe that we were going to see the SEC come out against Bitcoin, against the cryptocurrency assets. I thought that they would probably go for Ethereum last, and that is exactly down to the dollar what they did. And that's what my investment portfolio has been set up in. I've had almost no exposure to Cardano. I've had almost no exposure to anything else like that for a long time. It's been just Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it seems that was the right thing to do. All right. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Let's see. Now's the time where, for the last 8 minutes or so, we are going to move through a time of answering questions. We do have a comment that I want to read that is definitely having an important impact on things, and that would have to do with BlackRock. Let me read the comment really quickly here. There's actually two. Wisely T said, what fundamental news led to this rally, if any? Moonshine said the fundamental is due to Bitcoin ETF BlackRock. That, to my knowledge, has not been approved, but BlackRock has gone through filing another Bitcoin ETF. They've been trying to file Bitcoin spot ETFs for a very long time. And so this is, not necessarily BlackRock, but Bitcoin ETFs have been filed for a very, very long time. And so here's an article over on CoinMarketCap that we can kind of read. BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF renews optimism, sparks wave of new filings. If you guys don't know who BlackRock is, let me just get the exact number, just so I can give you some data here. BlackRock is worth, I want to say, about $12 trillion in assets, or $10 trillion assets under management. That's so funny. I was originally going to say 10, and I said 12, and I looked it up, and it's 10. There's $10 trillion in AUM, assets under management. This is one of the largest, most powerful companies on planet Earth that you may have never heard of. They are founded and CEO'd by Larry Fink. He's been the chief executive officer for over 35 years now. And that company making a move on Bitcoin ETFs signals that one of the largest investment firms in the history of mankind is betting on Bitcoin. Keep in mind, it is a bet on Bitcoin. I cannot stress this enough. The investment community sees Bitcoin as the go-to risk-on asset. They don't see the altcoins as the go-to risk-on asset. They see those as penny stocks. They're not going to invest in something that's worth less than $250 billion because they are trying to invest in risk-on assets that have a large margin for growth, but that are relatively stable. They're going to see that as Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to come in the crosshairs of investors over the next 1 to 3 years because it is large enough that they are willing to take it seriously. It's small enough that they know they can make a lot of money in it, and it's stable enough that they believe that they will not only keep their money from a safety and security standpoint, but they'll also at least retain some of their investment if it does go through a drop, and that market will recover if they do invest in it. They've seen enough market history at this point. It's old enough. The rest of the cryptocurrencies, not the rest of, but some of them will be in that category in 3 to 5 years. Ethereum, Cardano might be in that category in 3 to 5 years. Right now, Bitcoin is the only one, and it's entering into a new weight class that no cryptocurrency has ever really been in before, except for Bitcoin during the last bull market, where it has all three. It has the confidence that the market will recover if you invest in it and you lose money in it. It has the confidence that it will be technically secured and it will not disappear. They can manage it in a way that is safe, and they also have the confidence now that it's not going to go through some kind of giant regulatory attack. So that's where a lot of investment is coming into Bitcoin. That's where quite a lot of enthusiasm has come in. Yes, haven't mentioned that yet, but that BlackRock story is absolutely a major driver of this rally and will continue to be a driver of rallies if we do see that get approved. Diamond Hands Daryl said, Jeb, do you do that because you already wealthy? Poor people need to take more risks like myself. Sorry about cap accident. I like how you got to the end of that and you're like, oh, I messed this. I'm just going to go ahead and send it. So there's a couple of principles there to keep in mind. Yes, when you are flat broke, you do need to take some more risks. But I would also say that rather than just taking more risks, you actually need to take more frugality. What do I mean by that? Well, if you are flat broke, here's the deal. You need to go into a notepad, and this is something that our family does for our personal finances and our company finances. We have a notepad, and we write out every single expense categorized. I'll just kind of explain how this works. This is a principle of financial sovereignty that we're going to be teaching in the future. We write out every single one of our expenses categorized by needs and discretionary. You may hear it called fixed and discretionary. So our needs, you're talking about your mortgage, talking about a car payment. If you have it, we don't have any car payments. We have no consumer debt other than our mortgage, and then we have a little bit of zero interest debt on a security system. So you have your mortgage, you have your car insurance, you have we have a subscription to a doctor's office, so we have that. We have a clothing budget. You know, these different budgets and fixed expenses that you need. Those are your fixed expenses. Car insurance, health insurance, those are ones in there. Go through there and figure out how you can lower that as much as you can. We actually just did this yesterday for our personal finances again. We've done this before. We just did it again and went through and we saw, man, we're very frugal in all of these categories. There's two categories. Number one, Jeb likes to go to the vending machine and spend $1.75 on Coca-Cola. I stopped doing that. I am working on weaning myself off of caffeine again. I was doing it before we had the baby, kind of needed the help because we were getting no sleep, so I'm weaning myself off caffeine again. So that's going to fix that problem. We also realized we're paying too much money on car insurance. We need to go save 15% or more with Geico. We actually yesterday managed to save 40% on car insurance because we decided we bought this new car. We realized we don't really need it. We actually got a really good deal on it, so we're going to turn around and sell it for double what we bought it for, and we're going to save $145 a month on car insurance. So by doing that, we freed up more money for that discretionary budget. That discretionary budget you want to, and I'm just running through this very quickly because we've got not a lot of time left. I'll go into more detail and more in future content on this. That discretionary budget is your income monthly minus those fixed expenses. Whatever you need, it might be $3,000, $5,000, $4,000, $4,500, $7,000, whatever a month it is you need to pay your bills that you cannot miss. If you miss those, there's a problem. Water bills, heat, internet, phone bill, etc. Your discretionary is your income minus that number. The discretionary budget, then you need to get a split. Split your money between things that you want to buy, things that you want to invest and save, and things that you want to give away and be generous in. For us, we try and invest as much as we can, but we also want to go on trips. We also want to go on dates. We also have wants. So we break that down with a certain ratio. For us, it's 35-65. At least there's a lot of numbers there, but the point is you break it down and you say, I've got this much left over after we meet our needs. We're going to put some of it into investment, some of it we're going to put into wants, some of it we're going to put into giving to people and being generous, right? And so when you do that, you then have a number. It is a number. We have a number, I'm not going to say, but we have a number every single month that goes into investments, and that number is paid into investments at the beginning of the month. We paid that first, right? That is done first, so that you don't get to a point where you're like, oh, I have no money left over to invest. No. If you're not going to have any money, if you're going to have no money left over, have no money left over to go and buy a $30 bottle of whiskey. Have no money left over to go on your fancy trip. Have no money left over for going to the vending machine. Have money start off by going into your investments. You need to be consistent over the course of years. This is the lesson I've learned. I've made so many great investments, and then I've made bad investments because I was not using a consistent strategy that I could make work every single day, every single month, every single quarter, every single year. Build a consistent investment strategy, money management strategy, and then with that amount of money that you're going to invest, decide, is it going to go into paying off our mortgage and debt? Is it going to go into savings? Is it going to go into crypto? Where is it going to go? And then if you don't have enough money in that category, then you need to find a way to generate more income, whether by being a professional trader or by getting a job that pays more or by cutting down on your fixed expenses, whatever it is, you find out how to get that number into your investment category as high as you can, and that's how you build wealth. So it doesn't matter whether you're poor or rich, you need to do the exact same thing, and that is keep the things that you need as low as possible, get rid of your debt, invest as much as you can, while also not sacrificing your life because you need to make memories with your children and your family, and make sure that you are being wise about your investments. As I said, we're going to talk about more of this in future content, but I hope you guys found some value in that. All right. Really appreciate that. Look, people will laugh at me. I had no capital, paid off all my debt first, then borrowed $50,000, put it into ETH and Bitcoin. Yeah, be very careful about borrowing money for that, but if you have no debt, then you're in a little bit of a better position to do something like that. If you don't have a mortgage and a car payment, then I suppose you're in a little bit better of a position to take on debt to do that. That is a strategy, although it is a very advanced strategy, so I hope that you know exactly what you're doing and you have a plan for that money and how to pay it back. All right. All right, good deal. If all these spot Bitcoin ETFs don't get passed, Bitcoin will tank. A lot of times when they get denied, it doesn't really do anything bearish, but when they get proposed is when there's bullishness. That's been happening for the last 5 years. Easier said than done, but agreed. Yes, it is easier said than done, but it is a very good thing. Is an asset, but it will generate money in the end while having fixed credit, fixing credit score. Yep, like I said, it is a strategy. It is a strategy. I'm not knocking it, so long as you know what you're doing. I am not one person to completely demonize debt. I think debt can be used in a wise way, but you do need to keep in mind that the Bible says, and it's very right, that the person that has the debt is a servant and a slave to the person who is holding the debt. So if you're okay with that and you can manage that properly, then okay. But just be careful. Be careful. All right. My XRP bag is worth more than I owe my home. Wow. Jeez. Okay. You might want to consider paying off that house, and then you're going to... You didn't ask my opinion. You're going to have a lot more money every single month coming in. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I hope you guys did enjoy today's live stream. Really appreciated all of you guys tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to sign up for Lux Algo, because Lux Algo has done such a good job of predicting these movements. The second that Bitcoin broke through that downtrend, Lux Algo confirmed his 4-hourly chart buy signal and gave us the price target that Bitcoin went to. I mean, seriously, let me just show you this real quick before we wrap it out. I cannot give you a better sales pitch for Lux Algo, and I am trying to sell you Lux Algo because it's going to benefit you. You're going to make money with it. The second that Bitcoin started breaking out above that trend line, you see this? The moment that it broke above that trend line, this buy signal confirmed, and the next candlestick, the take profit, updated and moved all the way up to 29.1 with the top at 29.5, and that's exactly where Bitcoin went. If that was too quick, let me just run that back for you. Before we broke that uptrending level of that downtrending level of resistance, the take profit was here, and we had not confirmed the buy signal. Take note, the buy signal was not confirmed. Trend catcher was not green. When we broke it, that's when it turned green, and we saw the take profit jump up here to between 28.8 and 29.5. Lux Algo called both of these movements perfectly. It called the first leg of the movement being done at 26.7, which is basically what it was, and then with the confirmation, it called the second leg of the movement and is calling the top right around here and calling some take profits right around here. Now, Bitcoin can go massively beyond what any indicator can predict. That can happen. But for right now, that's what's happening. All right. So, guys, if you have not already, get Lux Algo. Use coupon code JEB30. That's JEBB30 for 30% off at checkout. You will be so glad you did. Make sure also to like and subscribe to the channel. I am going to go ahead and wrap it out. I do first, before I go, want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling. Got a